Good morning, Digit fam. Adam Dowd here with your latest dose of tech and tomfoolery. It's hump day, so let's try to power through the rest of this week, but it's also the spring equinox, which means days are starting to get longer. It is March 20th, 2019, and this is your Digit Daily. We touched on this briefly yesterday because the announcement happened as the podcast went to air. But Google finally took the wraps off of its gaming announcement, now officially called Stadia, and once again the job posting for head of naming strategy rears its ugly head. With Stadia, Google is looking to shift gaming into the cloud 100% all the time, assuming you have a good enough internet connection. Google says that now players can just jump right into a game with a single click. No installs, no hardware, just click, and 5 seconds later you're gaming, assuming you have a good enough internet connection. Stadia is designed to work anywhere, on anything. Computer, mobile, crappy netbook, crappy Chromebook, inside, outside, onside, offside. I might have gotten a little carried away there. All of this is assuming that you have a good enough internet connection. Stadia can handle 60 frames per second at 4K and perhaps in the future as much as 120 frames per second at 8K. And all of this is assuming that you have a good enough internet connection. Are you seeing the pattern developing here, or am I being too subtle? Google also announced a controller that connects directly to a data center, but also allows you to bring your own controllers as well. This is also for AAA games. This isn't for your garden variety Super Mario Run or something like that. You'll be able to play really top shelf stuff with this setup. In theory, that is, and we'll talk about that in a second. But if Google can get all its ducks in a row, then maybe we won't have to buy any new consoles anymore. Maybe the days of PlayStations are behind us. Except there are a couple of huge caveats here. First, pricing. We don't know how much the service is going to cost. I'm not a gamer by any stretch, but my son recently got a Nintendo Switch, so I've been living on the periphery of gaming ever since. And one thing that I've discovered is that the money just never stops flowing. And if I had to guess, I'm thinking Stadia costs some kind of subscription. I'm going to say $20 a month, and then you'll have to buy the games besides, and then let's add in some in-app purchases just for fun while we're at it. I could easily see people starting to long for the days when they could just buy a console and call it a day. Plus, there's the connection issues. What kind of internet connection will be needed? Will a home broadband connection be enough? Will 4G? I seriously doubt the latter, and the former is suspect as well. Are we all going to need all the 5Gs before this service becomes viable? Because if so, we're probably years away from that happening to a large number of subscribers. Plus, there's content, because in this world, content is king. And if there is no content to this service, I'm sorry, it's DOA. And the real problem here is that Google isn't the only one coming to this conclusion. Epic Games, Amazon, and Microsoft are all working on their own solutions. The main difference here is that Epic Games, Amazon, and Microsoft all have content that they can push to their platforms. The best game Google has ever made was Guess Which Service We're Gonna Kill This Year. And that's a scary, scary game, especially if you're asking people to throw away their consoles and take it all into the cloud. As always, the proof will be in the proverbial pudding, and now I want pudding. So let's break out those spoons and head into the roundup! One last note on Stadia. If you head over to Stadia.com and type in the Konami Code on your keyboard, you'll get a little, and I mean a very little, surprise. But it's still a nice little nod to one of the old standbys in gaming, and by the way, that Konami Code is up, up, down, down, left, right, BA, and I just recited that from memory, so thank you very much. Man, the EU really does not like Google these days, or maybe it does, depending on your perspective, but the EU just slapped another 1.49 billion with a B euro fine on Google, this time for its online advertising practices, also known as the reason Google gets out of bed in the morning. Ouch, Google. These practices stem from, quote, anti-competitive contractual restrictions on third-party websites, which is lawyerese for Google-made websites sign crappy contracts if they wanted to use their ads. What do Mickey Mouse and Deadpool have in common? Aside from a growing distaste for TJ Miller, that is. Well, now they both call Disney Dad because the merger between Disney and Fox is now complete. As we speak, the Russo brothers are organizing a quick reshoot of the Avengers Endgame post-credits scene where they introduce the Fantastic Four to Tony Stark. That's actually not happening, but, you know, it might be. Yesterday, we got new iPad hardware without so much as a peep from Apple, and again, we get that today as Apple released updates to its iMac lineup for both its 4K and 5K models. Tristan on the newsletter is upset that Apple left in the 5400 RPM hard disk drives as opposed to just going with straight SSD drives, and I can't say I disagree. And, it'll only cost you an extra 200 Apple bucks to upgrade, and now we know why Apple left in the 5400 RPM hard disk drives. Podcasting being an audio platform, this may not be the best story to bring to you, but NVIDIA has some really cool AI tech that will take basic doodles that you draw and fill it in with photorealistic scenery from nature. Want to sketch out a meadow with a river and a pond? You can. Want to take some farmland and see what it would look like with a mountain in it? You can. All you have to do is sketch out the land as you want to see it, and NVIDIA's AI will fill in the rest. It's trippy and really cool, so definitely check out this link in the show notes. If you're in the market for a new laptop, the Dell XPS 13 series is a pretty solid contender. I've had a Dell XPS computer myself since 2015, and it's a nice little performer. It looks great, it feels really great, and I actually really love the keyboard on that computer for some reason. Well, anyway, through the years and up to 2019, that series has continuously eliminated gripes for reviewer Dan Ackerman over at CNET, until now when he complains that there's nothing to complain about. Might be a little bit of rhetoric in there, but seriously, Dell XPS laptops are quite nice. And finally, it's the spring solstice if you're on the top half of the world, and to celebrate, the Vox has an interesting and informative article on the solstice and some fun facts to go along with it. Does every part of the Earth get an equal amount of sunlight and darkness over the course of a year? Is today really the best day to balance an egg on its end? All that and more is covered in this article, so give it a look before you go buy a dozen eggs. The days start to get longer from here, folks, and I, for one, am excited about that. So that is going to do it for today's Digit Daily. If you'd like to learn more about any of these stories, check out the links in the show notes and subscribe to our daily newsletter on Digit.com. And if you like what you heard, subscribe and leave a review on your favorite podcast player. Once again, I'm Adam Dowd, Dead Technology on Twitter, and we'll talk again tomorrow.